released a white paper, quite a comprehensive statement from the industry on where the Industry Association at least thinks that the space industry should be going. And I imagine he's got plenty to say about that, so thanks, Mark.
Before I start, thank you, Andrew, and congratulations to all of the CUBESAT developers on the successful launch today. My name is Michael Davis. I'm the chair of the Space Industry Association of Australia, and I've been asked to talk to you on two quite important topics. The first is the International Astronautical Congress, and the second is our white paper on advancing Australia in space. And so I'll do my best to address both of those topics in the allotted time. But first, let me just tell you about the association. And our principal object is to promote and assist the development of a viable and self-sustaining space sector in Australia. And we have just reached 100 financial members, which is a real milestone. And it demonstrates the very active growth of this sector, especially in the last few years, and very much influenced by the emergence of new space as well as the traditional players. And so we see ourselves as having a bright future. We became nationally incorporated in August last year, and as many of you know, we are the host of the International Astronautical Congress in September this year in Adelaide. And the other highlight that I've already mentioned is our white paper, which I'll explain to you further. We have a board, and you probably recognise many of the names of our board members, and we also have a very active and helpful advisory council representing a diverse range of interests in the Australian space sector. And so if you're not members, I'd certainly encourage you to consider membership, and it does provide an opportunity to participate in, particularly through the advisory council. And our intention is to expand the size of that council in response to the increasing interest in what we're doing. And that's they're the very modest fees that we currently charge. So the Congress, as many of you know, is the world's biggest and most important multidisciplinary space meeting. And it's been held since 1950, before the beginning of the space age. And it's met annually ever since 1950. We expect between 3,500 and 4,000 delegates, and about 15% from Australia, the rest from overseas. It will feature the heads of the world's major space agencies and an unknown number of astronauts, but usually about 20 or 30, and senior space industry executives from around the world. But there's a strong emphasis on diversity and intergenerational participation, and there will be many tertiary level students and young professionals, and we're also organising activities for school children. This is a list of the plenary sessions. Now, these are the sessions attended by anyone. These are the sessions which are held as standalone events. There's nothing in competition with the plenary sessions. And typically, the first day always has the Heads of Space Agency plenary session. And then the host plenary, this is the session proposed by our association. And we've chosen the topic, the space industry's economic and social impact. And when you hear what I have to say about our white paper, I think you'll understand the reason why we consider that an important current topic. And we'll invite world-respected experts in that field. The other topics include space traffic management, 50 ways to leave your Earth. There'll be a next generation plenary. And then the Moon, Mars, Villages topic. And from up there to down here, big data topic. And then there's a final late-breaking news plenary on the Friday. There will be 3 highlight lectures. One is an Australian lecture from the head of the research organisation, I think it's called the Institute of Marine Science, about the Great Barrier Reef and the use of satellites in monitoring changes in the Great Barrier Reef. And then there'll be another highlight lecture with very well-known space personality, Bill Nye, Flight by Light, and a next generation topic on orbit satellite servicing and refueling. The Global Networking Forum is a recent innovation in the IAC, and it attracts large numbers of attendees, and it's an opportunity for sponsored presentations from larger organisations that want to tell the attendees about their latest innovations, latest products, latest services. But it's also an opportunity for any member of the IAF to propose a topic that's important enough to merit a large audience. It could be a round-table discussion, a bilateral country-to-country discussion. It could be some sort of networking session, and they even include some social events under the heading of Global Networking Forum. But the main part of the Congress are the technical sessions, and there are 178 sessions being held over 4 days. So that gives you an idea of the size of this event. There are about 20 to 30 technical sessions being held at the same time each day. And the abstracts that have been submitted are selected for presentation at the technical sessions. Now, the very positive news I have is that for our Congress this year, we have received 3,403 abstracts, and so the time has elapsed for submitting the abstracts. It was the deadline was in early March, and as you can see from this graphic, it is the 3rd highest number of abstracts ever received for an IAC Congress. There were slightly more submitted for the Beijing Congress, and a few more submitted for the Toronto Congress. But other than those 2 congresses, we're the 3rd highest. So that is a very encouraging statistic, because it suggests that we'll get the number of delegates that we're hoping for. And I can tell you that about 2,000 have been selected for oral presentation or interactive presentation. And I hope many of you are included in that number. And as you know, or as you should know, the topics are diverse. It's a Congress that covers as many topics as possible to do with space. So, and the abstracts are fairly even divided between space, science and exploration, applications and operations, technology, infrastructure, and space and society. So there's always something, a paper of interest to whatever your interest is. There are plenty of topics and papers available for you to attend. So this is just a graphic to show you the complexity of the planning and how it all works. So the peripheral events start with the space generation meeting, which is the under 35s, and that starts on the Thursday before the Congress. On the Friday there is a United Nations workshop for attendees, mainly from developing countries, which is being organised by the Department of Industry in Australia. And I won't read out all of the various peripheral events, but you can see them particularly on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday before the Congress. And then from Monday to Friday there are the events that I've just described, the technical sessions in parallel with the Global Networking Forum, and the PE stands for plenary events, so they're the ones that are not in competition with anything else. And of course there's the big reception, the welcome reception on the Monday evening, attended by probably 4,000 people, so that is going to be quite something. And then the events each evening, culminating in the gala dinner on the Friday evening at Adelaide Oval. So I've already mentioned some of the ancillary events, and you can see there a list of the main ones. There's a parliamentarians meeting. We have 30 or 40 international parliamentarians coming for their own meeting immediately before the Congress, and that'll be hosted by the South Australian Parliament. And we, of course, have the Manfred Lax Moot, which is a mock court hearing before 3 real judges of the International Court of Justice, who will always travel to the Congress to hear the only case that they ever have an opportunity of hearing under the space treaties. And that will be held in the Federal Court in Adelaide on the Thursday, followed by a dinner for the lawyers and any non-lawyers who are lucky enough to get an invitation. And of course the STEM and teacher professional development activities, which will invite 1,000 primary school students to visit over the 5 days in groups of 200, and we'll give them exercises and robotic challenges to work on in the exhibition space during the Congress. And there'll be community events, including a 2 or 3 month display at the State Library on South Australian space history and Woomera in particular, and 3 exhibitions at the South Australian Museum, which I've listed there, and excursions and site visits to places like Woomera and local observatories. And I won't delay to talk about sponsors and exhibitors, other than to say that you can see a full list of who they are by following that URL on the IAC2017 website. About 90% of the available space has been sold, so it will be a very big and exciting and impressive exhibition. And that's where you register. Early bird rates before the 30th of June, and current SIAA members get a 15% discount on the full registration fee. So if you're interested, if you haven't already registered, consider joining the SIAA and save money that way. So see you in Adelaide. So if you'll allow me, I'll move quickly to the topic of our white paper, and then I'll be happy to answer questions on either subject. Our white paper is, the key messages of our white paper can be found on our website, which is spaceindustry.com.au. But I'll just very quickly take you through that presentation, and if it works. Yeah, and so the white paper was published in March this year, and we entitled it Advancing Australia in Space. And the background, as many of you are aware, are that there have been a number of significant events, and I took the liberty of anticipating the successful launch of last night, and included that as the most recent significant event in Australian space history, even though it's an event of about 9 hours duration. The changing space environment, you've already heard presentations talking about Space 2.0 and technological change, and we'll learn a lot more about those things during this workshop. So leads us to the key question that has been occupying our members, our advisory council and our board. Why do we need a national space program? And we took the liberty of stealing some words drafted, I think, by Russell Boyce, and it's definitely about the development of a mature and self-sustaining Australian space industry underpinned by world-class research and development, translating to high technology innovation powered by a skilled, space-educated workforce, and providing a level of national sovereignty and self-reliance. So that we couldn't find any better words than those on describing what our intention is and why we believe a national space program is important. A key message in our white paper, and I have to say that it was very much a white paper developed through the process of consensus and by consulting a large number of members of diverse backgrounds and interests. And the key theme that kept coming to us as we went through this process is that we need an internationally recognised space agency to implement a national space program, and that this is important not just for our industry but for the national economy. And there's a sentence in our white paper which says that it's impossible to envisage a prosperous, high-tech society without greater government support for a national space program. So that's our thesis.
2 minutes. Michael?
2 minutes. They're just the statistics that we quote on the current size of the space sector, the Australian space sector, and the percentage, the 0.8% share of the global space economy is much less than Australia's overall share of the world economy. And so we believe that that is where the opportunity exists to increase that share. We set ambitious targets, the doubling of our current share of the world space market within 5 years, and a 5-fold increase within 20 years. We believe that it's important to have some clear markers and some clear aims. We list our current space capabilities that you're all very familiar with, and we set out what we hope are clear steps to implementation. And after much debate, we decided that politically it was important to seize the opportunity this year in the lead up to the IAC to say to the Australian government, please make the commitment. Whether it's an in-principle commitment or whether it's a funded commitment is another issue. But the commitment would be to establish an Australian space agency reporting direct to the responsible minister. And the words reporting direct to the responsible minister are very important in our submission, that that is the big change that we're proposing from the current governmental arrangement, in which the unit responsible for space policy development and implementation is a very small part of a large government department, the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. The second step would be the appointment of an interim board of management and a space agency head. That's self-explanatory. And the third step would be the development of a foundation strategic plan addressing the following questions. How best to manage the whole of government coordination of the space sector, and that of course is a huge question, a huge challenge. The second thing that the plan would do would be to establish strategic priorities for the agency with industry growth targets as we suggested in our white paper. And the third part would be an investment and operational plan for the agency, which of course is a key part of the proposal. So that in a few minutes is a summary of our white paper. You can download the full document at our website, or you can look again at those slides. So with that, thank you for your attention.
A bit hamstrung by having to cover two topics in one slot, but well done, Michael. One quick question, then we're going to go eat cake. No quick questions? Good, let's go eat cake. Right.